Okay, so I'm going to read Job 21, then we're going to pick up in the middle of it, which is where we ended up last week. Um, this is Job's reply, and in this reply, as we've talked about, he's basically devastating his friends. He's just gotten to the end of his patience, basically, and he's like, "This is what you've been saying, and it's patently not true." He's going through that. Then Job answered and said, "Keep listening to my words, and let this be your comfort. Bear with me, and I will speak, and after I have spoken, mock on. As for me, is my complaint against man? Why should I not be impatient? Look at me, and be appalled, and lay your hand over your mouth. When I remember, I am dismayed, and shuddering seizes my flesh. Why do the wicked live, reach old age, and grow mighty in power? Their offspring are established in their presence, and their descendants before their eyes. Their houses are safe from fear, and no rod of God is upon them. Their bull breeds without fail. Their cow calves and does not miscarry. They send out their little boys like a flock, and their children dance. They sing to the tambourine and the lyre and rejoice to the sound of the pipe. They spend their days in prosperity, and in peace they go down to Sheol. They say to God, "Depart from us. We do not desire the knowledge of your ways. What is the Almighty that we should serve him? And what profit do we get if we pray to him? Behold, is not their prosperity in their hand? The counsel of the wicked is far from me. How often is the lamp? How often is it that the lamp of the wicked is put out, that their calamity comes upon them, that God distributes pains in his anger, that they are like straw before the wind and like chaff that a storm carries away? You say, God stores up their iniquity for their children. Let him pay it out to them, that they may know it. Let their own eyes see their destruction, and let them drink of the wrath of the Almighty. For what do they care for their houses after them, when the number of their months is cut off? Will any teach God knowledge, seeing that he judges those who are on high? One dies in his full vigor, being wholly at ease and secure. His pail is full of milk, and the marrow of his bones moist. Another dies in bitterness of soul, never having tasted of prosperity. They lie down alike in the dust, and the worms cover them. Behold, I know your thoughts and your schemes to wrong me, for you say, where is the house of the prince? Where is the tent in which the wicked lived? Have you not asked those who travel the roads, and do you not accept their testimony that the evil man is spared in the day of calamity, that he is rescued in the day of wrath? Who, de- who declares his way to his face, and who repays him for what he has done? When he is carried to the grave, watch is kept over his tomb. The clods of the valley are sweet to him. All mankind follows after him, and those who go before him are innumerable. How then will you comfort me with empty nothings? There is nothing left of your answers but falsehood. So, as I said, the main burden of Job chapter 21, at least Job's burden here, is to show that his friend's worldview is false in all of its assertions. And we had spent some time going through and showing he's basically mocking his friends, he's mocking Eliphaz, and he's directly contradicting things that um, the other two had said. And he is appealing as his evidence the same type of evidence that they've been trying to push on him. They've been saying, this is the way everybody knows it. And Job says, just ask anyone. Just ask the travelers, anyone. They'll tell you what I'm saying is true. So he's using that. And I think last week we had ended up around verse 21 or 22. And I'm going to read that section again, starting in 19, because there's a bit of something Job says here that I want to talk through and see how we understand it. So Job is going to start by saying, you say. So he's going to attribute this to his friends. And they've said this. He says, you say, verse 19, God stores up their iniquity, that is the iniquity of the wicked, for their children. So he says, you say that God stores it up for the children. And then Job says, let him, that is, let God pay it out to the wicked, that they may know it. Let their own eyes see their destruction. Let them drink of the wrath of the Almighty. For what do they care if their house is after? What do they care for their houses after them, when the number of their months is cut off? So verses 20 and 21 sound rough, right? It might sound, or it does sound, it appears like Job is saying, um, middle of 19 through 20 and 21, he's criticizing God. That's what it sounds like. At least that's what it sounds like when I read it. It sound like that to anybody else? He says, you say God. I mean, go ahead, Catherine.
I was
I
just
saw.
going to say that. I was just going to say the first part of verse 19, he's accusing them. You say that God stores away man's iniquity for his sons. And then he goes into let God repay him so that he may know it, and so forth on down through 20 and 21.
Yeah.
That's where I see the division.
Yep. Yeah. And doesn't it, does the, I guess what I'm asking is from after he paraphrases his friends, God stores up
Mm-hmm.
their iniquity for their children. That's the end of the paraphrase. Then Job starts saying what sounds like a criticism of God. Right? He says, "Let
Yes.
him pay it out to them." That sounds like God, like he's criticizing God.
Yeah,
Is that the way you got it?
like he's saying, I wish he would do it this way.
Yeah, or something like that. He's saying,
Yeah.
the you know, um, so he's not denying that sometimes um, the wicked that a person does, the wickedness is visited upon the children. He's not denying that, which is the assertion of the friends, right? The friends are saying God stores up their iniquity for their children. Job's not denying that. He's saying, what's the point of that? Right? That is
Mm-hmm.
seems like what he's saying. Um, so it sounds like a criticism of God, and that is I'm not sure that's the best way to understand that. I'm not trying to make Job to be, a hero or perfect in everything, but at the end of the book, God does say about Job twice that he spoke rightly. God says
Yes.
he spoke rightly of me. Um,
Yes.
so there were some things that Job had to repent of at the end of the book, but it wasn't, it may have been for some things he said, I guess, but it seems like there's a blanket covering of God not God says Job spoke rightly of me. So I'm wondering about how do we understand these words? And I'm wondering if it's likely that what Job is doing here is saying, um, is working on the presupposition, or he's saying basically, on your worldview, where God delivers justice in the lifetime of the wicked. This is he's saying, isn't this a contradiction in your worldview? You say God is going to visit wickedness on the children, but on your worldview, doesn't God really have to pay out justice during the lifetime of the wicked? Um,
Yeah, he does say that in the worldview, right?
yeah, yeah. So I just was wondering about your thoughts, your guys' thoughts about uh, that response there. Um, it's either a criticism of God or it's not. And if it's not, then we would want to have an explanation, for that. Hey, Becky,
Hi.
glad you're with us.
Oh, Maggie.
So we're
Hi,
looking at,
Becky.
there's my mom. So I'll summarize as soon as she comes on too. Um, there she is. Hey, mom. Yep. Hey. So we just started a few minutes ago. I just read through Job 21, and I'm asking a question. I want everybody's feedback, if you have any, about verses 19 through 21 of Job 21. The question that I have is, Job first summarizes his friend's worldview. You say God stores up their iniquity for their children. Okay. You say God, if he doesn't punish the wicked in their lifetime, he stores up their iniquity and punishes their children. And he's summarizing something they said in their worldview. And then he says, and this is the thing I have a question about, let him pay it out to them that they may know it. Let their eyes see their destruction, and let them drink of the wrath of the Almighty. For what do they care for their houses after them when the number of their mouths is cut off? He appears there, at least to me, and this is the thing I first asked, does it appear to you, like it appears to me, that he's criticizing God there?
Mm.
Mm.
It has that look.
It does have that look. I think it has that look.
So what verse are you in?
Oh, sorry. 19 through 21.
I'm confused.
Yeah,
In 19, he's saying to his friends, you say, God stores away a man's iniquity for his sons.
right.
And I'm grasping the let God repay him so that he may know it, that his own eyes see his decay, and let him drink of the wrath of the Almighty. For what does he care for his household after him when the number of his months is cut off? That that sounds like a worldview.
Oh, it is a
That
worldview.
sounds like, yeah, that's what they've been saying all along, is that there's where, so I don't know how to answer it now. Now that I'm thinking about it more, it's,
Yeah, well,
wow.
so I didn't mean to start with something that was confusing here. I guess I
No,
was
no,
just
no, no, don't do that.
yeah, I
It's
guess I
me,
was just
not you.
no, it could be that other people could read this and not have the same response to it. So so my conclusion is that he's not criticizing God. And the reason for my conclusion is because first, the very next verse, verse 22, he basically confesses that he's ignorant of God's ways. He says, "Will any teach God knowledge, seeing that he judges those who are on high?" He goes, "I can't, I can't instruct God. How could I teach God how to do stuff?" Right? So then I go backwards and think, well, then he isn't actually criticizing God when he says God should be paying people back right now. That's what that's what he's saying in verses 19b through 21. God should pay back the
Mm-hmm,
wicked in their lifetime. God doesn't do
mm-hmm,
that. God should do that. That sounds like a criticism, but it's not, because he's not instructing God. He's saying, I think so. What he's saying then is your worldview is not consistent. In your worldview, God always punishes the sinner in their lifetime. There's no leftover for the children. There's no,
Mhm.
there's
that's
no,
it.
yeah, there's no instance
That's
where
it.
God doesn't punish the wicked. Like he wasn't looking and the guy died, and now God goes, "Oh no, what am I going to do now? I got to punish the children." He's like, no, in your worldview, God always punishes the wicked. What are you talking about? Yeah,
That's
Well,
exactly it. It's not consistent.
yeah. So,
well, one thing that kind of struck me that could be a possibility, I say possibility, was that Job knew that God did punish the wicked, but he also knew that God blesses the righteous, right?
hmm
So God chastens his own children from time to time, and I kind of think that's kind of what's being said here too.
hmm.
He chastises us from time to time. He even tells us that in the New Testament. And I kind of think that message is trying to be brought out. But God chastises us to strengthen us and to help us to be what we need to be in the Lord. We know that. But I kind of think it's talking about God chastising his children from time to time when it talks about he rewarded them.
Which
Or
verse? Which
rewarded,
verse? Which verse do
or
you?
laid up picture, the picture, 21:19.
Okay.
And I kind of think maybe I could see where there's, like I say, a possibility that it's talking about God chastising his own children from time to time to strengthen them.
Hmm. Okay. I don't see that, but that's okay. Um, anyway, I just wanted to point out that I realize that there's uh, that it's a challenge. That particular section here is a challenge because it looks like, and he may be criticizing God. At the end of the book, God says Job spoke right. I don't know if that applies to every single thing Job said, or just it applies to the majority of it, or the state of his heart, or something like that. But Job does say right after these words, I'm not smart enough to know what God's actually doing. He does say that. So then it would not be a criticism. It would be something else. So anyway, yeah, Becky.
I'm lost. So when I clicked on the passages link, all of my links are to 20. Are we in 20 or 21?
No, we're in 21. Those
Okay.
are the right links. We haven't got to that part yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll go to 21 though, then
Yeah.
for this.
Okay.
Sorry.
So
I'm going,
no,
what is
no,
everybody talking about?
I'm sorry. I tried to
Go to
explain it.
21.
Well, that's
Yeah,
because I walked in my door at 2 after 7. So,
yeah.
um,
All right.
all right.
So,
I'm with you. Thank you.
okay. All right. So, after all of that, it probably wasn't that important, but I mean, I just didn't want to go over it without saying anything. It did seem like it was um, a sticking
I
point
think
there.
it's a very good point. I think what you just did is a very good point because
Okay.
you have to seek, you have to know, and it was a very good thing to bring up because it prompted us, me, I can only speak for me, of course.
Okay.
I've changed my mind. I have a better understanding now because of what he says in verse 22 of chapter 21. Can anyone teach God knowledge in that he judges those on high? Well, and then you go to the end of it where God commends Job for the way he spoke of. Yes, I appreciated what you just did. I see the difference. I definitely do now. I would not have seen that otherwise, and I don't think I could have made a one of call for it, where there's a definite difference in what you're saying between 19b to 20 through verse 21. So it was, in my opinion, a good thing to bring up. Thank
All right.
you.
Oh, thanks for sharing. Thank you. I'm glad then.
You're welcome.
All right. Now I'm going to move on. We're going to pick up at 21, verse 22, which we have mentioned already, where God says, or where Job says, will any teach God knowledge, seeing that he judges those who are on high? He's speaking there on high, probably of angels, but he also could be speaking about rulers. But anyway, God judges angels, which are higher than men. And so how can a man instruct God, right? This is his line of argumentation there. And so he's confessing his own ignorance of God's ways. This is going to come up again in later chapters where Job says, basically, I know that God's doing something in my situation. God has a plan, and I just don't know what he's doing or what for. He's going to say that. Has anybody ever been in that situation? Yeah, pretty much your whole life, right? Pretty much your whole life.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So the contrast between Job and his friends, I don't think Job's friends would ever say anything like verse 22. I don't think they're ever that they would ever say, we're ignorant of what God is doing. Right? Don't his friends come across as, we understand God perfectly and we know how the universe works. And there are no exceptions.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, the arrogance of that is it's huge.
There's a lot of that around. Rob, Rob, Chuck, I'm sorry, I'm thinking another. Yeah, there's a
That's
lot
all
of
right.
that around. A lot of that, yeah, false
Yeah,
stuff. So,
yeah. So so Job is humble, and that's what this confession is, right? In verse 22. This is humility sneaking through here. It's like SpongeBob might say to Patrick, Patrick, your humility is showing. Job's humility is showing here. Um, then you watch SpongeBob, I'm shocked. You should watch. All right. So I'm going to read now 23 verses 23 to 26. And the basic thing is everybody's equal in the grave and everybody dies. Um, verse 23, one dies. So this is following right on. I don't know what God is doing. I can't offer him advice, right? One dies in his full vigor, being wholly at ease and secure. His pails full of milk and the marrow of his bones moist. Another dies in bitterness of soul, never having tasted of prosperity. They lie down alike in the dust, and the worms cover them. So Job's point is that in this life, God treats pretty much everyone the same as far as outward prosperity, happiness, and satisfaction, material things go. God treats everybody the same, meaning that it doesn't make any difference whether a person is good or bad. God might bless them with prosperity, or he might not. Doesn't have anything to do with their moral behavior or their righteousness before God. This is Job's point. Some people, he doesn't even say some wicked people. He just says, just look, people die. All kinds of people die. Everybody dies. Wicked people, some of them die young, and they were in the prime of life with lots of possessions. And some wicked people died in bitterness with nothing, never having had prosperity. Same with righteous people. There's it's so he's making the point from everyday experience that um, that this theology that ties blessing in this, like that says you're going to get good thing. This karma philosophy, right? That if you do a bad thing today, you'll get a bad thing tomorrow. Um, that this is wrong. That anybody can look out their window, you know, and see that this is not true. Um, Zophar in chapter 20, Becky. Oh, were you going to say something, Becky?
Well, yeah, I was going to say, that ties back to, we can't earn our way into heaven, right?
Absolutely.
So I mean that's the baseline. But if you go even deeper than that, um, if you hold with the other's um, perception of this, it's saying that God will punish you until you become righteous. And then after you become righteous, then you will get rewards.
Mm-hmm.
And it absolutely doesn't say that, but it reaffirms the earning part. You can earn your way into heaven,
Yeah.
which is, absolutely wrong. And, so just tugging on that thread, it's a very, very unstable point of view.
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah. Certainly doesn't work. Doesn't work in it. Yeah. So in chapter 20, verses 20 to 29, Zophar was speaking, and he's talking about the wicked person. It's a great theme of the friends, right? They like talking about the wicked person because they're trying to make Job see he's, the wicked person. But Zophar says in verse 20 of chapter 20, because he knew no contentment in his belly, he will not let anything in which he delights escape him. There is nothing left after he had eaten, therefore his prosperity will not endure. In the fullness of his sufficiency, he will be in distress. The hand of everyone in misery will come against him. To fill his belly to the full, God will send his burning anger against him and rain it upon him into his body. He will flee from an iron weapon. A bronze arrow will strike him through. It is drawn forth and comes out from his body. The glittering point comes out of his gallbladder. Terrors come upon him. Utter dark. This guy's amazing. He's still alive. I mean, the bronze spear went right through him. still alive. Terror has come upon him. Utter darkness is laid up for his treasures. A fire not fanned will devour him. What is left in his tent will be consumed. The heavens will reveal his iniquity, and the earth will rise up against him. The possessions of his house will be carried away, dragged off in the day of God's wrath. This is the wicked man's portion from God, the heritage decreed for him by God. Now, unless I misread that, I think what Zophar said is that the wicked die in great pain. They're terrified. They're shot through with spears. Everything they had was taken from them. Zophar's point is avoid great pain. Don't be wicked. Um, avoid a miserable death, right? And Job is just his description of everybody dies. Some of them have lots of money and they're happy. Some of them are bitter and never had any prosperity. Everybody dies. Counters this because when Job says everybody, he's saying indiscriminately, wicked or not wicked, some people die happy and some people don't. Some people die rich and some people die poor. Wicked people, righteous people. So he's countering this argument here. He's saying it's not related. The way people die and the fact that they die is not related to whether they're righteous or they're wicked. Some righteous people die terrible deaths, and some wicked people, they die happy. And that should be obvious, right? It should be obvious to Zophar and his friends. I think it probably is, which is why they just keep repeating the same thing and start making stuff up. But to Becky's point, everything comes to us, whatever it is, it all comes to us from the hand of God. And for us who are adopted into his family, everything comes to us from God, and everything that comes to us from God is good by definition, right? Because it's coming to us from God. This is what James says: every good and perfect gift comes down from the Father of lights, right? And so God gives us whatever he gives us, our situation in life, our the friends we have, the family we have, the money we have, the troubles we have, the people in the family who don't know him yet that we agonize over in prayer and worry about. These are all from God, and these are all good gifts. And so, that's we didn't earn any of this, and God gives it to us to make us more like his son and to be glorified. In
Amen.
20 in verses chapter 21 verses 27 to 33, Job says, behold, I know your thoughts and your schemes to wrong me. And I think when he means to wrong me there, they're getting to the point of, they've been condemning him a lot verbally, and they're basically have moved away from him emotionally. They're like no longer treating him like somebody who needs help or comfort. They've been wronging him in pretty much everything they've been doing. So Job says, behold, I know your thoughts and your schemes to wrong me. For you say, where is the house of the prince? Like they're saying, Job, look what happened to all your stuff. Where is the tent in which the wicked live? Have you not asked those who travel on the roads, and do you not accept their testimony that the evil man is spared in the day of calamity, that he is rescued in the day of wrath? Who declares his way to his face, and who repays him for what he has done? When he is carried to the grave, watch is kept over his tomb. The clods of the valley are sweet to him. All mankind follows after him, and those who go before him are numerable. Basic point there. I think Job is just saying that that it's known to everybody that there are wicked people, not every wicked person, but that there are wicked people that prosper in life and are honored in death. And, we see it all the time when some celebrity dies. Not to say that every celebrity is wicked, but we see some celebrities that we know are wicked. They die and the whole world goes into mourning, or t-shirt sales go up, or, something like that. Yeah. So he's mocking Eliphaz. who said in 527 about the wicked dying and everybody forsaking them. He said, "Behold, this we searched out. It is true. Hear it and know it for your own good." And he's mocking Eliphaz and saying, "Look, you just ask anybody, and they'll tell you that what you said is not right." In 8:8, Bildad had said, "You should inquire, Job, of the bygone ages and consider what the fathers have searched out." So Job is again just saying, um, we don't need to do that. You can just talk to your neighbor and see what's going on. And in so far, did I miss one? I missed one. So far, 24 and 5. I don't know where that went. I can look for it. Let's see. "24 and 5. Do you not know this from of old, since man was placed on earth, that the exalting of the wicked is short, and the joy of the godless is but for a moment?" I think that's one of the most easily refuted statements in the whole book of Job, right? Um, and so Job keeps going back to it. It's like, you said this, you really said this, you know. And so the testimony of the whole world is against the worldview of the friends. Job has also given several answers to their assertions, and I think their whole worldview now is completely in shambles. And so, which is why the third cycle of speeches is so short. It's actually very short. I think it's one of the guys doesn't say anything, and Bildad only says 6 verses. Job, on the other hand, is going to say 5 or 6 chapters worth of stuff. It's going to go, okay, since you're not going to talk, I'm going to fill in all the blanks here. So that's Job's going to do. So his final shot at his friends is the last verse in the chapter 21. "How then will you comfort me with empty nothings? There's nothing left of your answers but falsehood." So he's basically telling him, "You've told me nothing helpful. You should stop talking." Um, so are we, is there
Okay.
yeah, thanks, Catherine. Go ahead.
Yeah, verse 34 that you just read. "How then will you vainly comfort me, where your
Mhm.
answers remain full of falsehood?" I have a cross reference to take us to chapter 16, verse 2, where he
Okay.
says his friends are sorry comforters, where he says, "I've heard many such things. Sorry comforters are you all." So he's come that far with with the same realization
Yeah. I,
about his friends.
it must have been disappointing. And then it kind of moved into frustration, bitterness, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he said, yeah, way back in 16, he says, um, you're not saying anything that's helpful to me. And so instead of examining what they've been saying and, and then changing it, going, "Oh, yeah, you know what? It would be better if we said this." Um, they just said the same thing more insistently, more loudly.
Mm-hmm.
I know
Yeah.
nobody's ever done that, right? Nobody's ever done that.
For some reason, some people seem to think that they have to get louder and stronger to prove that what they're saying is right.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
louder I speak, the more demanding I am. You're going to see that I'm right. Not
yeah.
so.
I, I think I heard this, or maybe I read this in a book, but I think I heard it when I was I was in a class for sermons. I don't know how to write a sermon,
Mm-hmm.
and the instructor told a story about, or he read from a book where somebody had discovered some sermons, written out sermons from this preacher. I don't know who the preacher was. I don't know if he was famous or not. I don't remember anything about the preacher, but there was a note uh, he had written a sermon, and then in the margins he had written what tone of voice he wanted to be in, right? Or
Mm.
what gestures and stuff like that. And so he got to the main point of his sermon. He had underlined the words of the sermon, again, three lines, and he'd written in the margin, "This is important. Shout."
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah.
Yeah. And the
We've
instructor
seen
was,
exclamation. I'm
yeah,
sorry. We've seen exclamations in the scripture where I've asked you. I see an exclamation point after what he's just said. Does that infer that he's exclaiming how important this is?
hmm
Yeah. So I can see that what you're saying about if someone's preaching or giving a speech or whatever, that to intensify the message at that point.
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know. That's how. Yeah. Okay.
yeah. No, I
Yeah.
can see it too. God's given us different ways of expressing things so that we can get emphasis, and de-emphasis and things like
Hmm.
that across. The particular point that the instructor was making was that you shouldn't just support your main point by getting louder. You should have actual reasons. You should present scriptural biblical reasons for the conclusion that you're offering. Not don't just shout. He was
That's right.
doing that. You know,
Yeah.
so nothing against pastors showing that they believe what they're saying, but which they should be. They should be doing that.
Hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Let us go to chapter 22, Eliphaz's final speech. There's a link if you are looking for it at the bottom of chapter 21 outline. So Eliphaz, here's his. I'm going to sum up his final speech. God only punishes the wicked, like you. That's. I'm sure he's shouting, when he does this. God only punishes the wicked, Job, like you. Um, Eliphaz says some things which are, like we've seen, they say some things which are really good in a different context. And he says, God is a great God, and we all agree with that. And Job is a great sinner. None of us agrees with that, and Job doesn't agree with that. And the most important thing is God doesn't agree with that. And the way of the wicked will perish. He says that. I think we all believe that, right? The way of the wicked will perish. And submit to God and be at peace. And I think we all believe that too. So he's got
Mm-hmm.
3 out of 4. That's not bad. 3 out of 4. But he's, it's actually worse. It's worse than that, right? Because the whole thing is colored by the wrong understanding of the situation. So I do have some verses to go to, but before we get to them, I think what we'll do is we'll read the chapter, and then I want to talk about verses 2 through 4 first. So, does somebody want to read Job 22, or do you want me to do it? Going once.
You want me to read it?
Sure.
Okay. Then Eliphaz the Temanite answered and said, Can a man be profitable to God? Surely he who is wise is profitable to himself. Is it any pleasure to the Almighty if you are in the right? Or is it gain to him if you make your ways blameless? Is it for your fear of him that he reproves you and enters into judgment with you? Is not your evil abundant? Is there no end to your iniquities? Oh, there is no end to your iniquities. For you have exacted pledges of your brothers for nothing and stripped the naked of their clothing. You have given no water to the weary to drink, and you have withheld bread from the hungry. The man with power possessed the land, and the favored man lived in it. You have sent widows away empty, and the arms of the fatherless were crushed. Therefore, snares are all around you, and sudden terror overwhelms you, or darkness, so that you cannot see, and a flood of water covers you. Is not God high in the heavens? See the highest stars, how lofty they are. But you say, What does God know? Can he judge through the deep darkness? Thick clouds veil him, so that he does not see, and he walks on the vault of heaven. Will you keep to the old way that wicked men have trod? They were snatched away before their time. Their foundation was washed away. They said to God, Depart from us, and what can the Almighty do to us? Yet he filled their houses with good things, but the counsel of the wicked is far from me. The righteous see it and are glad. The innocent one mocks at them, saying, surely our adversaries are cut off, and what they have left the fire has consumed. Agree with God and be at peace. Therefore good will come to you. Therefore good will come to you. Receive instruction from his mouth and lay up his words in your heart. If you return to the Almighty, you will be built up. If you remove injustice far from your tents, if you lay gold in the dust and gold of Ophir among the stones of the torrent bed, then the Almighty will be your gold and your precious silver. For then you will delight yourself in the Almighty and lift up your face to God. You will make your prayer to him, and he will hear you, and you will pay your vows. You will decide on a matter, and it will be established for you, and light will shine on your ways. For when they are humbled, you say, it is because of pride, but he saves the lowly. He delivers even the one who is not innocent, who will be delivered through the cleanness of your hands.
Thank you. So, did you all recognize that Eliphaz accused Job of a whole bunch of stuff that Job didn't do? He's
Yeah.
yeah, he's like, I don't know, it starts in verse 6 and goes through, well, he attributes, yeah, it goes a long way. But he hasn't taken care of the widow, he hasn't helped children, he's stolen things, and he's deprived things, he's been a terrible neighbor, he's exploited everybody. So I think what happened, why is Eliphaz saying this? So I think what's happened is that Eliphaz doesn't realize that the dialogue is over. That Job has just obliterated his position. And I think instead of understanding what actually happened, he's incensed that Job has attacked him. He's feeling attacked. And so now he's going to raise it up. He's going to ratchet it up a little bit more. And he's going to, he's really trying to poke the bear here, trying to get Job to respond. And, he's making up stuff. And I'm not sure. I think he probably knows that this isn't true, but I think he doesn't care about that. So, again, the outline here, first couple of verses, God is a great God. God is a great God. Let me read verses 2 through 4 again. Can a man be profitable to God? Surely he who is wise is profitable to himself. Is it any pleasure to the Almighty if you are in the right? Or is it gain to him if you make your ways blameless? Is it for your fear of him that he reproves you and enters into judgment with you? So he's basically saying there in verse 2, can a man be profitable to God? He's saying a man cannot be profitable to God, right? He's saying that's meant to be answered in the negative. A man cannot be profitable to God. If a person is profitable, verse 22b, he's only profitable to himself, maybe to other people too, but really it's just, there's a creator-creature divide. Your wisdom might profit you, but it doesn't benefit God, which isn't that exactly what Job had just said the previous chapter? He said, I'm not smart enough, to advise God on this. He's not going to benefit from anything I say. And there's a different translation issues with verse 2 that I do want to look at. How much time? We got 10 minutes. I think, let me just summarize verse 3 and 4, and then we'll go to the table on the outline. Verse 3, is it any pleasure to the Almighty if you're in the right? So he's saying pretty much what it says there. If you are right about all of this, does God get any pleasure from that? Like, can you make God more happy than he already is? Have you ever thought about that yourself? Can God be happier than he already is? What do you think?
Self-sufficient.
Are you asking us?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I'm asking you, right? No. Right, the answer is no. He is self-sufficient. He's perfectly happy. He's how could you be more than perfectly happy, right? It's like the
Right.
kids game, right? You pick numbers, you try to pick the biggest number, and some kid says infinity, which isn't fair. It's not really a number. And then the other kid says infinity plus one, which is nonsense. doesn't it's conceptually there is no infinity plus one, um, or minus one. My favorite one though is when people say it's such a big number it's close to infinity. Like, no, it's as close to infinity as any other number, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
uh, anyway, so no, Eliphaz is correct here. You can't add to God's happiness. You can't add to. You can't be profitable to God. That's what he means. You can't. Can you benefit God in any way? The answer is no. You can't benefit God. Now, God does say he's pleased with the activity of his children. That's an interesting thing that maybe we'll talk about next week, but it doesn't add happiness or pleasure to him. It's an interesting thing. Um, so, verse 3, if you're blameless, does that benefit God? No, uh, it doesn't. God is great. That's what Eliphaz is underscoring. And then he talks about justice in verse 4. Is it for your fear of him that he reproves you and enters into judgment with you? The answer that he expects, or that he's trying to get Job to see, is that no, God is just and holy. So given that he's punishing me, I'm wicked. I must be wicked because God because I've been claiming all along that I fear God and I'm a man of integrity and I haven't done anything, but God is a great God and he would not punish someone who fears him, is a man of integrity and hasn't sinned. Therefore, since you're being punished, I mean, we all know the argument, right? So Eliphaz is doing the right thing. He's doing the right thing as far as the procedure for having a discussion with somebody about God or about what the Bible says. You ground everything in the revelation of God, who he is, what he's done, what he said. You and Eliphaz is saying, let's start with this. God is great. And he's great and he doesn't need us. And he's holy, he's righteous, he's just. And so there's no way, Job, since God is just and holy and righteous, that you're not being punished for your sin. I mean, that seems almost unassailable logic, right? Doesn't that seem like a powerful argument? It's the same argument that the atheist uses, right? If God
Yes.
is all powerful, why doesn't he stop wickedness? And if he's all, I don't remember the second one,
Mhm.
but it's, if he's just or holy, um, or no, if he's all loving, right? Anyway, I messed that up. Um, but starting with the greatness of God is a good starting point. So I want to compare translations of verse 2. And I have several translations. I have the Young's literal translation, and then the King James Version, then the ESV, then the New American Standard 1995 edition, the NIV 1984 edition, and the Christian Standard Bible. So was that 6? So the first part, 22a, it's asked as a part of the first part of a question. To God is a man profitable, and then the second part, because a wise man to himself is profitable. So this is not the same way that the ESV had it, right? The ESV has, can a man be profitable to God? Simple one question followed by a statement. Surely he who is wise is profitable to himself. But the literal translation is, to God is a man profitable because a wise man himself is profitable, or a wise man to himself is profitable. He's saying, if a man is profitable to himself, does that mean he's also profitable to God? That's what the Young's literal translation is getting across. A man is profitable, but does that mean he's profitable to God? And the answer is no, it doesn't mean that. The King James is similar to that, right? Can a man be profitable unto God as he that is wise may be profitable unto himself? Again, a man is profitable to himself. Does that mean he's profitable to God? That's what
Oh.
that's what's being said there. And the answer is no, it doesn't mean that. The New American Standard, can a vigorous man be of use to God, comma, can even a wise man benefit him? So the same question is asked twice, right? Instead of one question. Same question can be asked twice. Um, and there's an escalation going on, just like in ESV. The escalation goes from a vigorous or a busy, diligent man to a wise man. Everybody would agree that a wise man is more to be desired. Wisdom is more desired than activity, busyness. So, can a vigorous man be of use to God? Escalate. Can even a wise man benefit him? The ESV does the same thing. Can a man be profitable to God? Surely he who is wise is profitable to himself. There's some escalation going on. The Christian Standard Bible asks two questions. Says, just like the NIV, I'm going to ask two questions here. Can a man be of any use to God? That's this Christian Standard Bible. The second question, can even a wise man be of use to him? Escalation. NIV, can a man be of benefit to God? Can even a wise man benefit him? Escalation. It's interesting to me looking at how the different translations are. They don't end up saying anything different. They just have, I mean, the end result is no, even a wise man cannot profit God, right? Um, which is what Job has just said, right, in the chapter right before that. Job is a wise man. He's the wisest man in all the East. And he says, I don't know how to advise God. I can't do that. Um, so uh, anyway, I just thought it was interesting how they different translations either do one question or two, and how they either do a comparison between a wise man and being profitable, and does that mean he's profitable to God, or they do this escalation thing. Not that it's not that it gives you a different meaning or anything like that. Anybody have any comments on any of that? Was that interesting to anybody else?
Yes.
Good. All right. So we're just going to read Romans 1, verse 35 to maybe verse 34 too. Verse 34 and 35. 33, 34, 35, 36. It's a benediction, or it's a exclamation at the end. We'll just read all of that. It'd be a good way to end the class.
You
Oh,
said
the
Romans
depth.
1?
Romans 11. Did I say? I might have said 1,
Okay.
but I meant
You said
11.
one, yeah.
Oh, I got it wrong.
One in the ones place, and then
It's 11. Yeah, there were two ones together. Should have been two, but Romans 11, 33 to 35. Oh, the depth of the riches and wisdom and knowledge of God. How unsearchable are his judgments and how inscrutable his ways. For who has known the mind of the Lord, or who has been his counselor, or who has given a gift to him that he might be repaid? For from him, and through him, and to him are all things. To him be glory forever. Amen.
Amen.
So Eliphaz is saying nothing different than that. He starts out with a strong assertion of the doctrine of God, and it's a good place to start. And but he's still going to get everything wrong at the end. But so we'll look at those other passages under that heading next week. Does anybody have any final comments?
No.
Okay, I'm going to stop the recording.